So hi everybody, welcome to those in the class and those online. We're finishing up today doing this presentation on presenting the path. So today we're doing a review. But to get ourselves ready for the review, we need to sort of set our motivation. So please, let's begin by sitting comfortably. Just that your back is straight and shoulders are relaxed, and just let the body breathe itself. And feeling the body breathe itself, relax into awareness. And we can mentally purify our environment by thinking, let this whole ground become completely pure, as level as the palm of your hand and as smooth as lapis lazuli. And we imagine that all space is filled with offerings from gods and men, both set out and imagined, like those of Manjushri and Samantabhadra. And in the space in front of you, on the lion throne, on a cushion of lotus, sun and moon, sits Guru Shakyamuni, the essence of all our kind teachers. And he's surrounded by the assembly of the direct and indirect teachers, deities, Buddhas, bodhisattvas. There are heroes and solitary realizers. And there are the Dharma protectors. And these are all in the space in front of you. And the sky above them is filled with these offerings. And you recollect that you and all of your kind mothers, fearing the traumatic torments of an uncontrolled life, turn to these three rare sublime ones, the only sources of refuge. I think that from now until enlightenment, it's to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha that we will go for refuge. I think that we want to do this to bring about enlightenment for ourselves and for all beings. And join me in saying, I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. But imagine that from the hearts of all the refuge objects, lights and nectars stream down, and they dissolve into yourself and all living beings. And the lights and nectars purify negative karma and obstructions. They increase your lifespan, your virtues, and your Dharma realizations. And cleansed by wisdom and love, you recollect the four immeasurable thoughts of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and decide to develop these yourself and to establish all beings in those four immeasurable states. And so you join me in saying, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that is without suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Now from the hearts of each refuge object, lights and nectar stream down and dissolve into yourself and all the living beings surrounding you. The lights and nectars purify negative karma and obstructions. They increase your lifespan, your virtues, and your Dharma realizations. And so you steady and ready yourself to clear away the final subtle causes of trauma by inviting the field for accumulating merit. And you say, reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginning this time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own and others' merits to the great enlightenment. Now, to prevent us clinging to the merit we've created to be truly real, we can stop these appearances by imagining that the samsaric world we inhabit, the people in it and all the enjoyments of it, appear as a Buddha land. And we say, this ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Mary, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha field and offering. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratam Mandala Kamayatayami. The Buddha accepts this offering of ours. He smiles at us and we look up and meet his gaze. And in the eyes of the Buddha, we find immense humility and kindness. And so we make a request now to our own teacher who's within the field of merit. We ask him to please come across and sit on the lotus and moon seat at our crown and have their great kindness help us develop all the attainments. Now I think that your root guru now comes from out of the field of accumulation, out of the field of merit, and comes to the crown of your head and makes these requests with you. So your guru is on the crown of your head, he's got his hands together in the prayer mudra, and he's requesting along with you, asking the Buddha to please pour down all the inspiring blessings upon ourselves and all the people who surround us, to stop all perverse states of mind, from disrespect to our kind teacher to the most subtle dual appearance. Then we ask for inspiring blessings so we may quickly generate pure minds, from respect for our kind teacher to the mind of union. And we ask blessings to be poured out upon us to pacify all the outer, inner, and secret obstructions. And request this blessing from the heart of each holy being in the field of merit. Streams of lights and nectars pour down, and they grant us blessings and purification. It's from this purified state of mind, I'd like you to recollect anything you can of these 3 principal aspects of the path. That from the heart of the Buddha, infinite light rays emanate, They reach all the environments and all the beings. And these all dissolve into light and gradually gather up into the field of merit. And the field of merit begins to dissolve into the central figure of Buddha Shakyamuni, who then dissolves into your root guru at the crown of your head, instantly transforming him into the aspect of Guru Buddha Shakyamuni. When the Guru Buddha Shakyamuni is on the crown of your head, begins to diminish in size, enters through your crown and descends down to your heart. His mind and your mind become one nature. And you hear the mantra of the Buddha, and you quietly recite it just 3 times. Ayato Muni Mahamunaya Tayato Muni Mahamunaya Ayato Muni Mahamunaya. If your mind and the mind of the Buddha are one entity, single nature, and you have the ability to listen to these teachings, to reflect upon them, and to put them into action for the benefit of yourself and all beings. And then breathing in deeply through your nostrils, exhale through your mouth, and let your eyes flutter open and bring your presence back to where you're sitting. So, hi Sandy, and welcome everybody. So like I said, we're going through today's topic. It's just basically a review, and there are 12 questions that have been asked in this review, and so today we're going to answer all of them basically. So our first question begins with who is the Buddha? Now, it sounds like quite a straightforward and simple question, but the answer is absolutely phenomenal and large. But to simplify it, I can say, first of all, that if you are asked this question, who is Buddha or what is Buddha, anything like that, you should know you can give 3 answers, and they're all going to be correct, and they're all going to be slightly different. So if you ever hear somebody give you 3 answers, or one of these 3, you'll know whether it's correct or not. Now, the first answer comes from the Pali tradition. The next 2 answers come from the Sanskrit tradition. And within the Sanskrit tradition of these 2 answers, one is from Sutra and one is from Tantra. So in the Pali tradition, Buddha was the historical person who taught the Dharma. This is the Buddha, a historical personage. In the Mahayana, or the Sanskrit tradition, Buddha is not seen as a historical person, although accepted, was a Buddha and he existed throughout history. But here the Buddha is seen as an emanation body. And this emanation body derives from an even more subtle body called an enjoyment body. And the enjoyment body comes from the omniscient mind of the Buddha, the wisdom Dharmakaya. So you've got 3 bodies there. So this is from the Sutra, Mahayana Sutra, and the lower Tantras. This is how they present it. Right? Buddha enlightened body, speech, and mind. Nirmanakaya, Sambhogakaya, Dharmakaya. That's Buddha. And then we have the tantric presentation. Highest yoga, sorry, that's right, highest yoga tantra presentation. And how would you say it's there? Have you any idea? It's just sort of like this union of bliss and emptiness. This manifests as the Buddha. It's a very sort of subtle mind, actually. This is what Buddha is. And it's blissful, and it's empty, and it's compassionate. So here we have, like I said, three different ways of looking at what Buddha. Now, of course, there were in the Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma. And so, in other words, he taught this person, he became enlightened. That's why he was called a Buddha, and he taught what he understood. And these activities are 2 of 12 deeds. And these 12 deeds should not be, are seen from the Pali tradition as historical, actual events. And they don't have 12, they've got 8. In the Mahayana, you've got these 12. So does anybody remember what the last deed is, the 12th deed? What's the 12th deed of the Buddha?
Passing away.
Passing away. It's right, it is passing away to nirvana. It's what we might say is death. So the 11th deed, what did he do before he died?
Just beforehand.
Yeah, 40 years before he died.
Oh.
What did he do before he died? He taught, thank you, Miffy. That's right. So the 11th deed, the 11th deed, the Buddha taught the Dharma. That's what Buddhas do. They teach the Dharma. Before he could teach this Dharma, what happened? Yeah, he became enlightened. Right? So 10, 11, 12, he became enlightened, right? So passing away 12, 11 teaching, 10 becoming enlightened. What was the 9th deed? What happened just before he became enlightened? Excellent, Sandy. That's right. He conquered the 4 Maras, didn't he? Yeah. And just before he conquered the 4 Maras, where was he? What was he doing?
Starving.
He was starving, and where was he starving? No. He gone to Bodh Gaya. He's sitting under the tree.
Yeah, meditating under.
Meditating under the tree, he conquers the 4 Maras, he becomes enlightened. And just before he reached that tree, he was starving in the forest. He was a renunciate. Ascetic, renunciate. So we got 6, 7, 8. So we got 6 deeds there. So you should know that, like before he did that, what happened? Before he went off to the forest and became a renunciate, what happened?
We saw the things of life that shocked him, stirred him on.
That's right, Yvette. That's where he saw the four scenes, didn't he? And he saw what a sick person, an aging person, a dead person, and then he saw the monk. And on that he left the palace and he became an ascetic renunciate in the forest. And so forth. So you should be able to, over time, you get used to it, like go backwards and then go forwards. You know? So I think it's easiest for me, at least, to go backwards. As you go, well, you go backwards, everybody dies. So that's the 12th deed, right? In passing into nirvana. What was he doing before that? Well, he was teaching the Dharma. Even his death was a teaching. What did he do before that? Well, he had to become enlightened before he could actually teach the Dharma, and so forth. And so you can go all the way back and forwards. This way you get some idea of who the Buddha was, as a historical personage, or as the 3 bodies, or as a very subtle mind. And as the Buddha taught his Dharma, the people that listened to him were actually called hearers. That was their listening, right? The hearers or the listeners of the Buddha. And to listen properly, they had to put aside hindrances to listening. discover what they were and put them aside. And these hindrances were passed down to us in texts like the Lam Rim and so forth to show the proper ways of listening and the faulty ways of listening. So in terms of the faulty ways of listening, they gave the similes of the 3 cups or the 3 pots. So one pot was upside down, one was seen to be dirty, and one was seen to be cracked. So this is a simile, as you can see, for faulty listening, which actually hinders learning. So what does the upside down cup represent?
It's not open to listening at all.
So we're not open to listening. We don't hear the teaching. It doesn't go in the cup. The cup slides down. Yep, you could say that too. Yeah, you fall asleep because it can't go in. The teaching does not go in. Then if the cup was seen to be dirty, what would that represent? What would that signify?
Contaminated with previous beliefs or untrue beliefs.
Contaminated with true belief?
Untrue beliefs.
Untrue beliefs. Yeah, you could say that, yes.
Having assumptions that you don't know that you have that
you hold to them strong and think they're true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having false assumptions and clinging to them as if they were true. Anything else? So what's
like worldly concerns.
The worldly concerns. Yeah. So in other words, our motivation for listening is mixed up with the 8 worldly concerns, assumptions, and other things that you're saying, Yvette, right? Just wrong ideas. And you come in, and oftentimes they say that Khyentse Rinpoche said to me, like when you're teaching, like be aware that sometimes people will come in there to actually refute you. They're going to look for any faults that you say, and they're going to pick up on them and go, but what about this? And what about that? And so what they want to do is actually find a fault with the teaching or the teacher. And this is like if you're saying, well, you already come in with assumptions that you think are this, I know this, but then you might find that those ideas are challenged.
Could it also be when we're just interested in the Dharma because, we just want to find a house or get rich or find a family or, those things which the Dharma may not help with.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, so in other words, our motivations are mixed up. We have worldly motivations, worldly aspirations, and they're mixed up with our spiritual aspirations. So it gets them dirty, mixed up. And finally, we have the cracked cup. So what does this represent?
You come to DV class because you want to learn about the Dharma, but you don't actually think about it after you listen to it. And then so you come a week later and you can't remember what ended you. How embarrassing.
So did you hear that online? Did you say that? Yes, it's a bit like that where you come into, like we're all here, we're all listening, and just like me, I'll go and listen to other teachings. And then a week later or 2 days later, or even later on that night, you're asked something about what you heard and you can't recollect anything.
In one ear and out.
That's right. In one ear and out the other, just like the tea's poured in one way and it comes out another way. So this way of listening will hinder your learning. There are plenty of things you can do to not have that happen. One of the most simplest things is like if you take notes, within an hour of leaving here, review them. Quickly go through them again and take some time just to think about what you heard.
Right? Well, you can do that with you have the slides up as well, so you just really look at the slides from the day's class.
Yeah, so just as Riffy has pointed out, and I do this myself, I like to do this, is go online and all these slides are up there and you get a complete quick review of each thing and you just look at each one and add a few words that you can add to it. You go, oh, this is my understanding of that slide. Next one, next one, next one. And so within about, I don't know, less than 10 minutes, you could do a whole teaching. You teach yourself just by reviewing what we've done. Now, there are, like I said, there are strategies that we can use to avoid these hindrances. And there are 6 given in the texts. And they say the first thing to do is think of yourself as being a sick person or a patient. You need help. You think of this, I'm here because I need help. I was actually thinking about this morning and really rejoicing in it. So I think, thank goodness I found Dharma. And even when I was walking around the stupa there, I was thinking, oh, without this Dharma, I'm pretty sure I'd be dead now. I'm pretty sure I would be. So I was sick at the time, and I was looking for something to make me right. And I came to Langri Tangpa Centre, and I heard Geshe say, talking about the truth of cessation, truth of path, and it was like the light bulbs all went on. And so, so that, like I say, your teacher or the Buddha teaches the Dharma. So we are unwell and we need some help. So we find somebody who could help us. This person, of course, is going to teach us this Dharma, the medicine. But of course, again, the only way to really get well is to practice it consistently, the best way you can. Habituate yourself to this new knowledge, this way of being. And of course, like when you take a bit of time to study, like these small texts, like the foundation of all good qualities, or the 3 principal aspects of the path, and you see that there are just 14 verses there, and you go through them, and if you've read the Lam Rim, you go, oh my God, like to bring all that material and sum it down into one A4 page, or even to have all the Dharma teachings in 4 lines. You look at these things and go, man, that's genius thinking, to be able to do that. So we think of the Buddha as like this holy person, a person who purified their mind, developed all of their good qualities, and was able to effortlessly and spontaneously help people like ourselves. And so we make this wish that, the Dharma, that what we're hearing, what we're trying to put into practice, endures and remains forever, for as long as possible, to help sentient beings. Now, the person who listens, basically there seem to be like 3 different types of persons that listen to the Dharma, the teachings of the Dharma. And these encompass the scope of spiritual practice. So Lam Rim, in his Lamp for the Path, said, understand there are 3 kinds of persons because of their small and middling and supreme capacities. So I shall write clearly distinguishing their individual characteristics. So these 3 scopes, what they call the 3 scopes or the 3 capacities, are, what do you think they are? They are,
Liberation for myself.
no, they're small, middling, and great, or small, middling, and supreme. So what's really making them big, small, middling, and supreme is their motivation. This is, the capacity they have to engage in practice. So you can move from small to become middling to become great. Or you can stay at the small level, the middling level, or get to the great and stay there. It's even possible at one stage of practice to be a great practitioner and fall into becoming a middling practitioner. So you see how your motivation can change. Now, looking at these 3 scopes or these 3 motivations, the person of small scope, their direct aim and the motivation for practice is to secure a fortunate rebirth as a human or God. They understand that life doesn't stop at death. They know something else happens, and they don't want something worse than the life they're presently living. So it's okay, I'm going to make sure my practice have to begin here. So we find ourselves in that situation. We have taken a fortunate rebirth, and here we are. So now what are we trying to do? This leads us to the next person. We could stay at this level and go, oh, it's not too bad. But as you'll discover, it's not all that good either. So a person like us achieved this fortunate rebirth. Now what to do? Well, probably for most of us, we want to sort of decrease the mental states of suffering that assail us and drive us into hurting other people. So we still want to we still like try to make this life good. And we are, but to go further than this life. But we've got to have what we've got now. It's good. We want to keep it what's good, but we're aiming for beyond this life. So you can see here, their goal here is what's called liberation. They want complete freedom from suffering and its causes. They want to be free from taking uncontrolled rebirth. And in that, having that uncontrolled rebirth, experiencing samsara. They've had enough. So this putting an end to suffering and its causes is called a true cessation. It happens using the wisdom of emptiness. That's how true cessations are produced, and emptinesses are true cessations. And emptiness is also nirvana. So nirvana is an emptiness. They bring about their own personal liberation from suffering and its causes. But anybody who engages in those practices will very quickly realize that they're surrounded by sentient beings, and everybody's in the same state as they are. But some people are able to be very courageous, I would say, courageous. And they go, not only am I going to free myself, I'm going to help everybody else to get free too. And that's my goal, freedom for everyone. So this is one of the great scope, or the supreme scope. Their direct aim is Buddhahood. They know, okay, if I want to help everyone, the only way to do it is to become omniscient. I have to know the dispositions and the way people's minds work. The only way I can do that is to remove the cognitive obscurations. But I've also got to be free from suffering myself and its causes, so I need to free myself from the afflictive obscurations. Not only that, I've got to have this mind that actually wants to help beings. So we have bodhicitta and Buddhahood.
You think also that with the path that we're moving from feeling independent, realizing we're not independent, but not independent, and then finally realizing that we're actually interdependent.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, just have that idea there, makes a big difference, doesn't it? If independent is opposite to interdependent, and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm not independent, I'm actually interdependent. And so the happiness of my partner, mother and father, children, all of that is related to me and to others. And they're suffering too. Yeah, so that's a nice way of putting it. That's what interrelationship or interdependence should bring about. It's like, we're all interconnected here. So just working for oneself, liberation, is not really the right way to go. Now, when the person begins on their path, whether it's to attain Buddhahood or liberation, or it begins with having a fortunate rebirth. So we have this fortunate rebirth. So then we're going to say, what is a fortunate rebirth? What is that? Which leads to this, what they call, the qualifying. Like I said, if you ask, what is it? It's having 8 freedoms and 10 endowments. So here we have this lovely quote from Lam Rim, who says, you have this precious human body qualified by the 8 freedoms and 10 endowments in order to serve other living beings, which comes back to the interdependence. So this is what we say: if you you have got precious human life, or you have this the fortunate rebirth, this is what it means to have a fortunate rebirth. You've got 8 freedoms, you're free from 8 hindrances, and you actually have 10 supporting qualities. They're called endowments. So the 8 freedoms are to be reborn with false beliefs, or yet as animals or ghosts or in hell, deprived of Buddha's words, barbarians in borderlands, or reborn dull and dumb, or born among the long-lived gods. Of these 8 defective states that give no opportunity, you must be free. In finding opportunity, be diligent to put a stop to birth.
Yeah, it's interesting they're called defective states because they're defective from the point of view of someone wanting liberation or enlightenment. They're not like defective per se, like as for a worldly person, some of them are great.
Yeah, so the spiritual human rebirth is defined by this unique opportunity you have to practice spiritual paths and to attain higher goals. You can see in this here, none of the beings there can do that. You're not free to do that. Sandy?
Reborn with false beliefs.
Mhm.
I would say that applied to me. I was.
Yeah, and many of us, that's right, Sandy.
In a way that
Yeah,
very contradictory to the Dharma, so it's
yeah,
not a
that's right.
contact with the Dharma.
Yeah, it's not like, like one of the lamas said, and I found out myself through direct experience, that if you don't have these, get them. Because there's some you just stuck, right? But there's others you can actually go, hang on a minute. I grew up with all these false beliefs, and now I've come to the Dharma, like I don't believe those false beliefs anymore. I've got a different way of looking at things. So this is possible. So this precious human life is characterized by freedom from major obstacles to religious practice and the possession of 10 fortunate factors, which we'll look at next. And these fortunate factors include human intelligence and access to Buddhist teachings. This is what the Dalai Lama was saying, the most wonderful thing about humans is their intelligence. But of course, as we know, it can go either way, can't it? It can create samsara or it can create nirvana. It can bring freedom or imprisonment, destroy us all, or a wonderful living way together. It's intelligence. So we need something more than just intelligence. The Dharma, the teachings of Buddha. So we can, when we talk about the 10 endowments or the 10 richnesses, these 10 can be broken up into 5. There's 5 that are personal and 5 circumstantial. The 5 personal ones are that, first of all, you are human. The second, you are in a country where you can practice religion. We are. We have all the faculties of body and mind, and that they function well. Now, people, as we know, there are people that don't have all faculties of mind, and you'll know that when that happens, it's difficult to practice Dharma. But you can, but it's difficult. So if you didn't have that, you'd be in a much better position, wouldn't you? Now, I'm sure none of us here deliberately killed our mother, our father, deliberately an arahat, or tried to injure a Buddha, or tried to break apart a spiritual community. So we haven't tried to do all of those, and we meet the rest. We've got the 5 personal endowments.
That's 4.
Faith and Dharma. Thank you, Ricky. The next one is to have some faith, to belief in this, faith in it. And so again, okay, so you might look down and go, I've got all those. So now we need some extras. The circumstantial endowments. So the Buddha has appeared. And like I say, within the Mahayana, when you look at your own teacher as a Buddha, the Buddha's right there. Knowing that, if you look at what we talked about with Buddha before, Dharmakaya, the mind of Buddha is present right now. So Buddha's here. That's good. Buddha has taught and continues to teach. As you probably remember, Milarepa said, you know, I've never gone to the Buddhist learning facilities. My teachings all come from the environment I'm in. Everything that surrounds me is a way of learning. So the Buddha teaches. The Dharma is still here, isn't it? I mean, here we are sitting in a Dharma Centre where it hasn't degenerated. We're learning about it. And it's possible to meet pure followers of the Dharma. We've come across Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Geshe Sopa, Khensa Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There are so many authentic teachers. They still exist, they're still teaching. And we can meet them. And it is the fact that the practitioners of Dharma enjoy support. So we know that not too far away from us, there's a centre called the Chenrezig Institute. And there's a place up there where nuns and monks can live. Down in Bendigo, it's the same. There are many people here who are actually supporting the Sangha through donations, finding a place for them to live, driving them here and there. So that's all in place. So I look at this, so we've got the 10. I've said this, we've got 10 already, most of us. You go, if you're not too critical, you go, I've got the 10.
And also that we've got Dharma centres, like lay practitioners have support too. It's not like, I mean, there's countries in Europe where there's people want to be Dharma practitioners, but they have no centre to go to.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you look through like these and go through the text and even just think of them, you'll find pretty quickly, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm one of these people. Yeah. And then you'll also know, just by meeting the people you do know and meet, that they don't have all these. They probably don't have met followers of the pure Dharma. They're not even interested in Dharma.
Or they're watching really dodgy things on YouTube where the Dharma has degenerated.
Yeah, so for them, like a Buddha has not appeared to them, even though the Buddha is present. A Buddha has not talked to them. So I remember when I first did this, it was like really shocking. It was like, oh my gosh, like, that's me. I'm one of these people. I've got a fortunate rebirth. But it wasn't always the case. You know, I was just like you, Sandy, right? One time I was in a place like at that time in New Zealand. Actually, there was religion there, but no Buddhist religion that I was aware of. So, and then of course I had faulty ideas too, plenty of them. And in fact, by the time the Buddha Dharma came there was the day I left. It was the same year I left, basically. It's like, I had to come here. Yeah, I had to wait another 20 years, you know. Yeah. Now, the key difference. So when you ask this, so before I put this next slide up, I'll just ask you. So what do you think the key difference is between having a regular rebirth as a normal sentient being, a human being, you know plenty of them, or a person with a precious human rebirth? What's the major difference? How can you say, what would you say in a real sentence? Okay.
The ability or wish to practice Dharma.
Okay, any more?
They don't have a true path to cessation and stuff.
Yep, yeah, they don't have those. It's true.
Online, Angela also said Dharma.
Yep, Dharma. Okay, so here we go. So the key difference between regular rebirth and precious human rebirth is having or not having the conditions for attaining one of the Buddhist goals.
So those conditions, meaning those.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. If you have them, you have the time and the ability to engage one of the Buddhist goals. If you don't, you can't. You won't. It's really that's the difference. That's how you can tell. Well, you just go through those 8 and the 10, and if you meet them all, you have the opportunity now. If you don't have them, then there's obstacles and hindrances. You don't have them. It's not precious. It's human. It's not a precious human rebirth.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, so the Buddhist goals it's referring to is the precious human rebirth is one goal.
Is one of them, yep.
And then the other
Liberation and enlightenment. That's right, Sandy. They're the 3 goals. Yeah, and along the way we have renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view.
So what's weird is that many of us in our families, the rest of our family don't have a precious
Yeah, that's right.
rebirth.
No.
They just have
A human
regular
rebirth. That's right, the regular human
a
rebirth.
lucky one, but
Yeah, they're regular humans. They're,
Yeah.
they're human beings. And yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this is something like when you I often thought of this, you know, when you have pride, you're proud about different things you have. But this is a really authentic form of
it's
pride.
like
This is
appreciation.
real, yeah. This is what something you can really appreciate and go, oh my God, I have this, and there's all these other things that people are proud of. But you ask them, this pride that you had, will it lead to fortunate human rebirth, your liberation or enlightenment?
But even
And then no, it's all worldly
it's
goals.
like my half sister who's just been diagnosed with cancer. Like she has no refuge.
No, that's right.
She's
Yeah.
really lovely.
Yeah.
She's an activist. She cares for the environment and for people.
Yeah.
And she has
No,
nothing
yeah.
to rely on.
No, that's right. And that's what happens. And cancer comes in, so that's what you realize. Oh my gosh, I'm adrift. I don't have, refuge, a safe place, a place where I can still function well. Yeah. Ruby.
If we those in the 10 and downwards, I don't think you can get all these to happen at the same time.
Instantaneous.
If freedoms and the 10 and downwards.
Yeah.
You can have it happen at the same time.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
that's right. Because just like Sandy did it all happen at the same time. Me too.
Things, it's the timing.
Yeah.
It's
And you-
like-
But we all do.
we-
At the moment, we all do. The fact that we're sitting here,
Yeah.
we have
All of them at
all
once.
8 and 10 at the
once
same time.
at the same
now.
time.
Now,
Now.
Yeah,
It's
now
only
we do.
six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
But
depends
getting
on your
them-
age. When you're young, you can't have everything, you don't have the time or whatever it is. Usually it's time.
Yeah, well, that's what it says here. Conditions and time.
Yeah.
But you have to have time. That's right. Yeah.
Conditions.
Conditions and time. Time is up there. Time is one of the things you have to have. Without time, that's right. It's not going to work.
I think one thing I've learned as throughout my life, from before I had children, having children, working full time, is that with time, sometimes you have to just make time for Dharma.
Yeah.
Don't just go, I don't have time.
You can't wait.
There's no more time,
Yeah.
right? There's only time. You have to work within its limits.
And that's
Still 30 hours a week.
Ah, yeah, that's right. I'll be sorry.
yeah.
That's right. And in fact,
Point at me.
okay, it'll be a nippy. Love it, us.
That's the
but-
Dharma practice for you guys. See all the sense on TV shows.
Oh, I've got enough of that in my head. But yeah, so I remember one of the teachers saying, if human beings spent as much time trying to achieve either liberation or Buddhahood as they do trying to make themselves happy in samsara, they would all be free in their lifetime. And if you think about like what you actually do with your time, you ask how much of it is Dharma, how much of it is not. You probably go, you're like, well, ask, is your sleep Dharma? If we go, I don't know. And you go, well, I'll tell you now, it's not. If you don't know, it's not. So now you've got eating, drinking, sleeping, all those little things you've got to work out. Well, are any of those phenomena Dharma practices? Are you practicing Dharma when you do those things? If you're not, then they're practices that, like a teacher said, lead to hell. He said, the long-term result of this is hell. Sorry, Sandy?
It will depend on what.
Yeah, you have to have a good intention and then place your attention habitually on
Yeah.
Dharma.
Like a purpose.
Yeah, that's right. A conscious purpose.
Hearted.
No, good-hearted is good, but won't carry far enough. It's like your sister, good-hearted person. And then, yeah, one of these things like,
Liberation or enlightenment.
yeah.
No.
And this is what they often say, aim as high as possible, because even if you don't climb Everest, you might climb the hill beside your house. And that little hill might be for your human rebirth. You're going to say, Ruby?
Let's say you have virtue,
Yes?
is that practice of Dharma?
Not necessarily, no. No, you can have virtue without being the Buddha, the Dharma of the Buddha. Yeah, and you can have plenty of virtues that keep you in cyclic existence. They keep you within the cycle of suffering. Yeah.
So people like that are altruistic, that have no Dharma beliefs,
Mm.
but just
Good people.
like,
Ethical.
people
Yeah.
that are constantly working for someone, they can get a good human rebirth.
Yeah,
They
probably.
just can't get
That's right.
liberation.
No, that's right. You can't get liberation or enlightenment. All those good deeds are probably just what you need. There's enough virtue there to be reborn as a human being, but not necessarily a human being who has the leisure and endowment to engage in Dharma practice. Okay, so these practices of the precious human rebirth, as you know, they're practices for a person of which scope?
Small.
That's right, the small or the lower scope. So in this scope, in this thing of practice, there's two things we're trying to do. One is to accumulate as much virtue as you possibly can to get another precious human rebirth or to get yourself out of cyclic existence. So you've got to accumulate virtue here. The other thing is you need to restrain yourself from everything that's non-virtuous, because that's going to prevent you getting a precious human life. So in terms of the accumulations of merit for a practitioner of small scope, they need to habituate themselves with the 10 virtuous behaviors like David Attenborough does, and many other good human beings on the planet. They do this. And at the same time, restrain themselves from their opposites. So I'm sure like David Attenborough, like he wants to save life. So I'm sure on one hand, he's not saving life and then taking life on the other. Right? You go, no. I recognize the preciousness of life. I want to save it and preserve it. And that's what you do. Right? Whereas others might just keep on willy-nilly killing as they do. So we practice and habituate ourselves to 10 virtues. We restrain ourselves from the 10 non-virtues. We pacify all the coarse, harmful thoughts, words, and deeds that we do. So again, this is just another way of talking about these 10 non-virtues, isn't it? They're the coarse behaviors, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, the malice that we have in the mind, the greed. We do our best just to pacify them. We go for refuge to the 3 rare sublime ones, and we observe the laws of karma and its effects that the Buddha taught. So we do this. This keeps us out of the lower realms and gives us a really great opportunity to be in the higher realms. And once again, take rebirth as a human being that can have the leisure and opportunity to engage in Dharma practice. So not only accumulating, the fact is that we've done lots of really unskillful things, haven't we? Things that we regret. Right? And all the things that we have done, if the effect hasn't come, then the effect is going to come. Unless it's hindered or blocked in some way. If we don't do anything to block the results of our past behaviors, we're going to experience their effect. So that means that we have to purify our past behaviors. It really helps. as like Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to say, if you're not doing the 4 opponent powers each night, you're mad. And I was just going, Jesus, that's pretty straight up. So we want to stop experiencing, we want to stop the results that are similar to experiences of the cause. So what stops that? Remorse. You've sort of got to look back and if you have this experiences like cause, I call these causally concordant results. These are things just like you're saying with your sister, Miffy. Suddenly you find cancer. Suddenly you find your whole life is threatened, it's shortened. You have a lot of sickness in your life. These are all experiences like the cause. And you're like, well, what's the cause? Yeah, harming life. You are harmed.
Which would have been in a past life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Past lives. Right? Yeah, so like with your sister, you're this lovely woman. And then, you probably know plenty of people like her, really lovely, good people. And then suddenly, out of the blue, comes this thing. And what's interesting, sometimes you go to the doctors and hospitals, and they don't know what it is. They can't find the causes. And sometimes we go to a great spiritual master, they'll say, no, the causes are spiritual. You need to do these things. So you can have spirit, cause. Some of them, our body can manifest sickness things, but the deeper cause is spiritual. So of course, it's like if you knew that, then there'd be great remorse for what you've done, wouldn't there? You go, oh my God, I wish I'd never done that. In fact, I remember a thing like this one time. I'll be doing all these dangerous and unskillful behaviors, and they all came to fruition. And I was very remorseful, but it was too late. It's like, be remorseful before it happens, right? So you don't do it. So there's benefit in being remorseful because it stops you doing what you used to do.
So that's why the actual practices of the small scope is to actually understand it and observe karma.
Yeah.
So you can do this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Then there's what's called throwing karma, and that means the way you stop actually that energetic impulse to find yourself in a realm is by doing all these remedies, doing everything that's going to stop that.
So putting in some other impulse.
Yeah, that's right, a new impulse. This is like I was thinking before that, the great term for meditation is habituate. Habituate yourself to a new way of behavior, so there's a new impulse. To stop behaviors like the cause, so this is like a cause, like if you've killed before and you like it, so then you have this liking for killing, or you have a liking for, in my case, money. So I remember one time buying all this audio equipment, and I was really freaked out. It was like the money was gone. I had to get the money back. So, I'll go and do this thing again. So that's greed. And stop that. You have to decide not to do it. You have to have this resolve. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I know what the outcomes are. And then, of course, when you do all these things, you find there's a result. And when there's a result, there's always an environment that contains that result. So this is where we take refuge and generate the mind of enlightenment. Now, while we are endowed with leisure and opportunity, we are still within samsara, aren't we? We are samsaric beings with the leisure, meaning the time, and opportunities to get out. But while we're in, we're going to experience different forms of suffering, discomfort. And these are basically 3 types, just ordinary misery that you feel through your body and your mind. There's also what they also call the misery of change, where something is really good, but it doesn't last. And the fact what's really good can actually turn into a form of suffering. And finally, just the fact that we're humans, that we have this body and mind that's been taken under the control of karma and delusion. It's not that we decided, oh, I know what, I'll come back as a human and suffer all this stuff. No, we don't do that. We say, no, I want to come back as a human being with a leisure and opportunity to engage in a spiritual path to get out and help everybody else get out. Yeah, so our happiness and our suffering are under the form of conditions, are conditioned.
This is your half hour.
Yeah. And so it's pervasive, this last one, what they call the dukkha of conditionality or pervasive compounded suffering. This is unique to Buddhist thought. And this is the thing we're really trying to get away from, to try and break through. There are plenty of other religions that deal with the dukkha of misery. And there are a number that also deal with the dukkha of change, that they understand, yeah, you can have good things and it's not good for you. Or the change is into you suffering or some way. Or what seemed to be good, if you really love, now you're crying about it. So this is this change. So that's common to other religions, but this one, it's not. It's Buddhist.
I found that quite shocking, actually. Like,
Yeah.
It's a real eye opener that the really obvious misery isn't the main thing that we're trying to get rid of. It leads us to the main thing. The main thing is far more subtle.
So, yeah, that's right. Just the fact that you're human, have a little bit.
Suffering, the dukkha of change.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to suffer. Sometimes the change can be happy also.
Yeah, of course it can. But this is here we're focusing on, yes, it can, and then it can go back to being terrible. So although that is the case, yes, because phenomena are impermanent, the bad will change, won't stay stable. So then something good can come up. That's right. But we also know the other side is there too, don't we?
That good thing will also change.
Yeah, that good thing won't stay stable either. Yes, it's continuous, like change, what Buddhists call the momentariness. Everything being subject to change because it's produced by factors that are not under our control. It'll change. So, of course, this is where we talk about renunciation. That's what the renunciation should be aimed at, this dukkha of conditionality. So what is renunciation? It's created by seeing the faults and shortcomings of cyclic existence. So you see that clearly. And you have this really strong wish to go like, no, like I mean, it's wonderful that the Buddha said, is there a way out? Isn't it? I mean, that's what many people do this, I'm sure, in terms of if you have a physical type of suffering or an illness or disease, somebody thinks there's got to be a way out of this. We don't know it yet, but there might be. There could be. So they go looking. You remember that film Lorenzo's Oil? That's amazing. Yeah? Here was a sick child. There was no cure. And as ordinary layperson, mother and father, man, worked it out, came up with a cure for an insolvable illness at that time. So it's the same here. So this is what are they called? The forest dwellers of the Buddha's time. They're very much like us. There's these massive changes in India where there was enough wealth going around so people could drop out and start thinking about these deep issues. And their deep issue, of course, was, can suffering be stopped? Can we go beyond suffering that we all experience? So people tried all these different ways. One of them was to go out into the forest and not eat food and overcome the body. But this desire for freedom So freedom comes about with two things. One, you've got to know the situation you're in is really, you don't want it, right? And you've also got to know there's a situation that is different than that. So if you look at like the term refugee, right? You are in a country and it's terrible, right? There are people trying to kill you. You go, like, is there a way out? You go, yeah, there is. Right? Well, you go, let's go. Renunciation's like that. It's like, well, here's our state, the human being with a body and mind that's not under their own control. They experience suffering, deep, pervasive, conditional suffering. Is there a way out? Buddha says yes. And not only does he say yes, he says, I'm out. I am awake. I'm Buddha, he said. I've done it. And I can show you how to do it. And then, but you have to do it. Like, I can't get you out. And so that's how it started, didn't it? You know, that person just saw and said, wow, like, who are you? Are you a man or a god or some sort of angel or what? You know, he just said, I'm awake. You know, so that sense of awakeness came from this state of this renunciation, desire for freedom and dissatisfaction with suffering. To bring about this state of freedom, you have to train the mind. You have to train yourself. And these trainings that bring about freedom from cyclic existence are called the three higher trainings. We train in ethics, concentration, and wisdom. So we train these like to get out. This is the methodologies for getting out of the situation that we find ourselves in. Now, like I said, this getting out, this renunciation, is a practice done in the small scope, the middle scope, and the great scope. There are practices of renunciation through all of them. It's something I wish to abandon, get away from, and something to get, to accumulate, to experience. So in the practices for beings of small scope, the practices of small scope, their renunciation is provisional. So what does that mean? They say, well, we're not trying to get out of samsara. We just don't want to we want to make sure we don't end up in the lower realms. Right? And so they use this life to benefit future lives. And the way of doing it is abandoning these 10 non-virtues. For those who actually seek complete freedom, liberation, true cessation or nirvana, this is definite renunciation. Now here you're going to renounce samsara itself, the process of uncontrolled rebirth. And so they, instead of going for future lives, they're saying, well, I'm going to use this life for liberation. That's my goal. Again, like I said, even if you don't achieve liberation, you've done everything to get a higher realm rebirth next time. They're not completely different practices, you know, there's an interpenetration and dependency there. So they have to abandon the true sufferings and the true origins. That's what they renounce. They give that up, they abandon it. Whereas for people of great scope, they're going to renounce the solitary peace of the solitary peace for a non-abiding nirvana. So in a medium scope, the person is seeking their solitary peace. They are in nirvana. The Mahayana practice is going, no, I do not want to rest my consciousness in that state of nirvana, the absence of true sufferings, because other people are suffering. What good am I when I'm sitting out here all blissed out and everybody else is running around with their heads chopped off? So they have it like a non-abiding nirvana, which means you can be here, but have the true cessations. But you don't have the cause of your here, but you don't have the causes for more suffering.
So by here, do you mean you come back?
Yeah, this is the idea, isn't it? That's the thing, right? To come back to help sentient beings. So it's not, yeah. So they have to abandon, there are abandonments of two types. They are the afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. The persons at medium scope, they abandon the afflictive obscurations. But this person of great scope, they've got two ways of practicing. One is in the sutra method, one is tantra method. Renunciation is there all the way through. Something to abandon, something to adopt. So mantra, what they're abandoning or renouncing is the impure view, meaning the ordinary view. So what's the ordinary view?
Separate from others.
Yeah, being separate, and the phenomena inherently exist. They independently exist. That's how I see it. That's how I think it is. You go, well, no, they don't. So you go, okay, so I can drop that view. Yeah, yep, that's right. You have to drop that view, take the pure view of, see? And then you have to go, there's this idea of self that I have, myself and others. That's another ordinary view. So what do we normally associate with ourselves is our body. As being human, being me, and we point to, like the me, that's the ordinary human. So you go, that has to be renounced, given up. So what's the type of image we take on? We drop the ordinary view of having the image of being a human being. What's the image we adopt?
Of a deity.
Of a deity.
Yeah.
That's right. Jen Rezig, Manjushri, whatever. And what we identify now with is a mental body. So yeah, so we abandon just these types of identification. So let's have our first meditation. Let's get comfortable in your seat. Sort of like lift your back up a little bit, so like you're on guard, right? You're sitting upright. Your shoulders are relaxed. Now take a deep breath. Let all the breath out. And just let your body settle into comfort. And feel the support beneath you. And as you exhale, let go of any tension. Let go of distraction. Your body is breathing itself, and you are creating space for clarity and insight to arise. Now set your intention to cultivate a deeper understanding of renunciation and its role in your spiritual journey. So imagine standing at a crossroads. One path leads to temporary worldly pleasure, and the other to lasting spiritual freedom. So renunciation is the mindset that recognizes the limitations of the worldly path, and it chooses the spiritual one. When we cultivate renunciation, we begin to free ourselves from the cycle of suffering that is samsara. It's like realizing that a mirage in the desert, no matter how enticing, can never quench your thirst. So I wonder how your own life might change if you fully understood the drawbacks of clinging to worldly pleasure. with true renunciation, you would naturally incline towards actions that lead to genuine, lasting happiness. It's like choosing a clear, flowing stream of water over the illusory oasis of the mirage. Now, can you recall a time when pursuing a desire left you feeling unsatisfied or wanting more? That experience offers you a glimpse into the nature of samsaric pleasures and the need for renunciation. But realizing the exciting roller coaster of worldly pursuit always ends where it began. It leaves you unchanged. So how might cultivating renunciation affect your approach to both challenges and joys in daily life? So today, try to notice moments of attachment and gently remind yourself of the freedom that comes with letting go. And as we conclude the meditation, take a deep breath, exhale, and then carry this understanding of renunciation, that openness with you as you move through the day. I've got this little red light with you. I'm not sure how we're going. It did say 3 hours, but it's gone.
They're just going down
Quick,
in
yeah.
your battery, yeah. So turn it off first, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Yvette. So now we're moving up now to the great scope.
10 minutes.
Yep, you can do it. So like I said, this renunciation goes right across, right from small, middle, great scope. So renunciation is actually subsumed within the mind of enlightenment, within bodhicitta. So renunciation really relates to our own freedom, and this depends upon, like I said, a deep and pure self-compassion imbued with intelligence, wisdom. When we talk about others' freedom, well, we're just taking the same understanding that we've got to ourselves and applied it to others. And this dependency. So this bodhicitta, this mind, really depends upon us extending out the compassion we've exerted towards ourselves, towards others, saying we're the same. And bodhicitta is, in brief, for the sake of others, wishing to attain complete, perfect enlightenment. In a nutshell, that's its meaning. There's a longer meaning, of course, but this is one you shouldn't forget. Now, in terms of bodhicitta and the 3 scopes, scopes that first are the small, middle, and great. In terms of the person of small scope, they have no bodhicitta, they don't develop it, they don't practice it. It's not a practice for the person of small scope. As you all know, their major goal is fortunate human rebirth. Their practice is just abandon the things that hinder it, the 10 non-virtues, practice the 10 virtues. On the medium scope, the person who's seeking liberation, do they practice bodhicitta? No, they don't. As you know, their practice is renunciation combined with a correct view.
And compassion.
All these things, but it's not bodhicitta. It's like you're sort of saying before, these really nice people, right? Good people. It's true, but it's not bodhicitta. Person with great scope, well, yes, they practice, and you begin by wishing for it. Wishing bodhicitta comes first. You think, yeah, I wish I could be like that. We develop it, then we have what we call, now we've got wishing bodhicitta, we've actually got it, authentic bodhicitta, and then we engage in its practices. Now, have to have bodhicitta, or at least, really, imagine you do or want to have it really bad, to enter the tantric path. So in Tantra, you have wishing and engaging bodhicitta. All the practices of Tantra are just other perfections. You have bodhicitta. So now we talk about bodhicitta at what's called highest yoga tantra. So it's still the same as the lower tantras. The only difference is the mind is much more subtle. In the great vehicle sutra school, this mind, the conceptual mind, bodhicitta's level, it's not. It's the mind is conjoined, special insight, calm abiding. It's a very subtle, deep mind. And it's that mind that seeks enlightenment. The generation stage. That completion stage is different again. Now it's called the red and white drops. So you guys might not know what that is, don't worry about it. Just know that there are different ways of explaining bodhicitta. Yeah. Now, ideally, in actual practice, no. So many of us, Lippy and I, both have highest yoga tantric practices. I don't have bodhicitta. I don't have the correct view. So, but we've got to start somewhere. Now, the practitioners of the middling scope and the great scope and the small scope all practice the view. But the way they practice is slightly different. So let's look at that. So we've got the person of small scope. They have the abandonment and the adoptions. They're abandoning the 10 non-virtuous minds. They're adopting the 10 virtues. And what they have is the mundane correct view. So the correct view is acting in accordance with karmic cause and effect. That's the correct view. It's called the mundane correct view. It's the correct view for everyone. To act in harmony with karmic cause and effect, as is taught by the Buddha. Person of middling scope, they need that, but they also need what's called the supramundane view, which is the view of selflessness. Selflessness of persons in particular. So this is something we're probably more familiar with. It's called correct view. But like I said, correct view's got two divisions, mundane, supramundane. Person of great scope, they have to have this view, this wisdom that realizes not just the emptiness of persons, but the emptiness of phenomena, in particular the emptiness of the aggregates. And the way of their view is like when they're back in the world, it's like, you have a view, you're looking at everything, it's like, gee, everything is just like an illusion. That's the correct conventional view. In terms of mantra,
Put the other two up so we can take
yeah. So in mantra or tantra, we keep the understanding of emptiness, the persons, the phenomena still exists. That is still the same. But we combine this with deity yoga and the subtle mind. So the deity yoga is not really the subtle mind yet. It's still be practiced at the gross level. But most times it's still calm abiding and insight. But you can go further and go to highest yoga tantra, and then of course we have the view is still there. But now it's like appearing at empty. just another way of talking, very similar to light illusions, but the fact that phenomena appear like Miffy's right there, she's also empty. Like we all are. We're all empty of the inherent nature. So it's like taking that on. And that really helps, of course, if you're doing tantric practices, because you do understand you've created your own body, right? And everything you're seeing, it's a creation of mind.
So
Right?
here
Everything is mind created. It's all empty.
The appearing actually then isn't the ordinary appearance.
No.
It's the tantric
Yeah,
appearance.
that's right. Yep. So what is this thing called empty or emptiness? So basically, it's like these ways to look. The final mode of existence isn't how they finally exist like this, being empty of inherent nature. They are the ultimate. This is the ultimate truth of how all phenomena exist, being empty of inherent existence, according to the middle way consequence school. And emptiness is a non-affirming negation. In other words, it's not positing anything else. It's just saying the person is empty of this. And it's the quality of every existent. Any existent, anything that does exist, it exists because it depends upon something else for its existence. Because it depends upon something for its existence, it is empty of any intrinsic nature, of anything. It can't have an independent existence. If it dependent, it exists. So this idea of being independent, the quality of being independent, it's not there. That's what it's empty of. It looks independent, but it's not. It's empty of its disappearance. That's why another way of saying empty appearances. If I look at you, like I look at Miffy, like Miffy seems like she's right there, right? Well, she is. Yeah, well, she, the person I'm looking at is her body. So is her body Miffy? Yeah, no. So here we have the appearance of a body and Miffy being one and the same thing, and you have a little look at it and you go, no, they're not the same. Strange. How to understand, and this is the reality. This is how everything is. Empty and appearing and empty. It's quite nice. I sort of like it, appearing. It's there. It's saying it's appearing, like it does exist. It's appearing to you, right?
So that should be the bumper sticker then.
Actually, yes, for our little bag. That's not bad, eh? Appearing and empty. It might be for a nice little badge. Now, how to improve our understanding of this? So, like I said, it can take quite some time, to go along to lessons like this and to hear these terms and to think about it. So it does take time. So it requires listening, reading, what we call, like study, and then you've got to sort of think about it. And then try and do these mental exercises. Of asking yourself, like, okay, I am here. Yeah, am I the body? If I am, I must be something physical. The body's physical. So something in here has got to be me. So it's not saying you just think, right? This is what we say, and you go, oh, gee, no, I'm not. So I can't be my body because I am not a physical thing, and my body is. So I'm not my body. So that's what it says. So you're not your, that's empty. The quality of you being your body, that's not there. You're not your body. So it's not enough to have a mere scriptural understanding. You got to keep listening and reading and then reflecting. And this reflecting is really good. Look at the past of how you thought things were true and then found out they weren't true. And then like this meditating just means start habituating yourself to these ideas. That Of course, it's great if you can all sit down like this and, you know, run it through your mind. But if you keep using the word meditation to be habituate, equalize it with the word habituating, that's what I've got to do. I've got to habituate myself to this way of seeing my view of the world. I know that within my view, the ordinary appearances, phenomena inherently exist. Phenomena exist without any dependence on me. They're independent. Right? Like the troubles in Israel, they're independent of me. Got nothing to do with me. That's a normal way of thinking, isn't it? If you don't want to think about it, you go, it's nothing to do with me. It's not me. It's independent of me. You go, no. Those troubles, the way you're experiencing is dependent upon you. And you might ask yourself, like, how? Why? You know, and then you come, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm part of this. Last meditation. So again, just get right in your seat. Let your body settle into a comfortable position. And as you exhale, let go of any tension or distraction. And just open your mind to the vastness of the mind of enlightenment. And set your intention to cultivate this mind. To habituate yourself to a mind that seeks enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Let's begin by, first of all, imagining a clear and boundless sky. And this represents the limitless potential of your mind to embrace all sentient beings. Within the sky, visualize the radiant sun rising. This is your aspiration to attain enlightenment for others' sake. As the rays of the sun and its warmth touches all it reaches, so does bodhicitta extend compassion to all beings without exception. It's like a master key that can unlock the door to liberation for yourself and countless others. So how might cultivating bodhicitta change your perspective on your daily interactions and challenges? With the mind of enlightenment, every encounter becomes an opportunity to benefit others. You can transform ordinary actions into steps towards enlightenment. It's as if you had discovered that every grain of sand on a vast beach has the potential to become a precious jewel. So there have been times when you have acted selflessly. Does that feel different from self-centered actions? This difference in feeling illustrates the transformative power of the mind of enlightenment. It expands concern beyond yourself. Sort of like realizing that the walls of your home are actually transparent, revealing the interconnectedness of all of us. I wonder how understanding emptiness, the lack of inherent existence in all phenomena, supports the cultivation of the mind of enlightenment. How does the understanding of emptiness support the cultivation of bodhicitta? But today, try to recognize the emptiness of phenomena while maintaining compassion for all beings. And as we conclude, take a deep breath. Exhale. And let the wisdom of bodhicitta and emptiness return to your awareness. Okay. So our takeaway for today. There are 12 questions. We've answered all of them.
Life, the universe, and everything
Yep.
should be our takeaway for today.
You don't know that there are 3 scopes. You know what they are: small, middle, and great. You also know about renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view, and that these two are interconnected. So on the website, we have meditations on renunciation, bodhicitta, and emptiness. And we also have this the 3 principal aspects of the path. So if you'd like to have a look at that and review them. And if you can try to memorize one of these prayers, these 14 verse Lam Rims. So next week we have our game from afflictions to perfections, and the week after, 1st of October, we begin the unit on the spiritual teacher. Let us say thank you for being here, for engaging in this with me, and yeah, being a support for me to do it, because I really love doing it. If you weren't here, I wouldn't do it. So it's great having to do it. Thank you, and thank you those online. Let's dedicate what we've learned here, the time we've spent, the merit that we've created with this precious human life. And say, along with me, due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme Guru, bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And as long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the sorrows of the world. And for Rinpoche's quick return, in holding and spreading Ramuni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to your practice. I was just looking at Rinpoche's face and thinking of the armor of patience that is never discouraged. And I think, that's because he liked us. He really liked us.